Oops. Right, and so today I'm in a pretty area, locally to me. There are plenty of dog walkers around here though, so I may be interrupted by dog walkers. But I thought today we would focus on reflections. We'll just wait for anybody to come in. But that looks really nice actually. Right, now from previous times that I've gone live, and this is only my third time doing so, I've noticed that as long as the camera is reasonably steady, the stream is okay. So we'll focus on the reflections for now, and then in a bit we'll focus looking down in front of us because it's really pretty down there. And there is a kingfisher flying around here, and they're absolutely stunning. And I haven't seen a kingfisher in years, so we'll see if we can get a few glimpses of that as well while we're at it. It says dogs coming. So just watch that for a minute. Yes, mate, you're on video. Right, so now the water is really, really disturbed. That actually looks really good. Patterns in that. That's awesome. I love that. And just the random beads of water moving across the tops of the rocks there and rolling down the other side of them. That's really cool. Wow. Little beads of water. That's lush. Right, anyway. So today we're going to look at how reflections can be used as a portal to self-reflection, and looking at reflections of the trees reflected in the water, which is what we're currently doing. And it naturally draws our attention inwards on ourselves. The symmetry of reflection feels like a visual metaphor, inviting us to explore our own selves and what we are like as people. And there's a dog coming again, it's the same dog. And is he coming this way? Yeah, he is. And I think in order to take time and discover yourself, you need to actually, take time and discover who you truly are, and not be bothered or distracted by other things around you. And I love what that dog is doing to the water right now, because that looks awesome. The waves, the patterns, that's lush. But yeah, so when you are looking at yourself and who you truly are, you need peace, quiet, and no distractions in order to achieve that. And when you are surrounded by day-to-day distractions and all the distractions that social media and advertising and everything else that's thrown at us on a daily basis, people then tend to have too many things to focus on, and they don't end up focusing on themselves because they haven't got the time to focus on themselves, or they're uncomfortable when they come to a sudden stop and they can't do self-reflection and they can't spend time thinking about themselves and who they truly are on their own without all those distractions. And a lot of people are uncomfortable about it too, when it is a necessary part. Introspection, looking within yourself and looking at yourself. But people are finding it more and more difficult to do than they used to a long time ago, because obviously you had more time to yourself without the distractions. You had more time to sit there with your own thoughts and to pick through them all. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with their own thoughts even nowadays, and they'd rather have the external distractions instead of being able to just sit there with their thoughts. And I think that's causing a lot of harm, to be honest. But just spend 5-10 minutes a day in a quiet area and just sit there with your thoughts as they come and go, and just observe them and see what they have to say. And you don't have to take them personally, or you don't have to go down rabbit holes or what have you. Just sit there and just observe them when they come, and then let them go and wait for the next thought and observe that one and let it go, and just pay attention to things like that. Right? And as this channel tries to focus on pareidolia, we're doing reflections today. So pareidolia in reflections on the water can cause faces to suddenly appear, as you saw when the water was disturbed by the dog. Then loads of different patterns and formations and geometric shapes just suddenly appeared, and it was amazing. Alright, and so you see faces appear when the ripples distort the water. The water can be seen as mirroring reality, but only subtly altering it, just like our perception, which is based on our own experiences. So every experience that you have in your life has an impact upon your own perception and how you view things, and then that can taint the way that you see things and the way that you experience things and your own perception, because your own perception is only based on the data that you have of the experiences that you've already had so far. So as you go through life, the more you experience, the more your perception changes, because you've got more data, different viewpoints, different perspectives to look at it from. So that changes with age and should develop as you get to know yourself more as a person and an individual. And then you've got the duality of reality and perception. So if you reflect on the way that the reflections show us the world, that feels both familiar and otherworldly. So when you look at a reflection of a tree, like you're currently doing, in a stream, there's another dog coming. Oh, loads of dogs coming. And when you look at that, right, that could be seen as an otherworldly experience, because there's another world or a reflection of the other world within the current world that you're in. So the dog that's right in front of me right now, the reflection, his reflection, is appearing in the water, and also his movements are affecting the movement of the water, which ends up making it look otherworldly, and that's pretty interesting. You can see all the different patterns again there, purely from the motion of that dog interrupting the surface of the water. Now, again, the surface of the water, and it's currently moving, then you can't see through it to the bottom, and you can't see a perfect image either of the reflection of the tree from above. It's all distorted now. So you have the distorted self. Sometimes ripples and currents, like I'm talking about, distort the reflection and can symbolise how our own perception of ourselves may not always be clear. Like the ripples, our experiences and our emotions change. And that has an effect and an impact upon your perception at that moment in time. So when you are overly charged with emotions at a particular moment in time, or you're having a bad experience, then suddenly that current crazy surface that's going on there, that is your perception at that moment in time. So when you're in a highly emotionally charged state, then your perception is clouded, it's fuzzy, it's messy and distorted, because you've got the overlay of the emotions going all over the top of your ordinary perception. And then you say and do things that you may not normally do, because that crazy water right there is the representation of what you feel at that moment in time. That's a very good example. So thank you, Doug. And you've changed it again. Look at that. That was coherent circle patterns then. Hello. Hello. You're being a brilliant assistant and you don't even realise it. So, when you learn and you realise that your emotions and your experiences, especially the bad ones, have an effect and an impact like that water there, sending it a bit crazy so that you can't see clearly the perfect reflection of the tree above and in front of it. Right, then that is obviously part of your imperfections. So then you learn to embrace your own imperfections and understand that your perception and our perception of our own lives and ourselves can shift within each wave of our lives. So again, as you get older, you go through different phases of your life, and they're waves, and your perception for each wave or phase of your life will change depending on the experiences that you had before it. So again, the calm and the ripples. So embracing the stillness and being able to embrace that, and being able to sit with that and being okay with that, as well as being able to embrace the turbulence that goes with that, is also good. So when the water is calm and the reflections are crystal clear, then your perception is better and more open. And then when you have the turbulent times, there you go, see, so you're going through the calm now. As it's calming down there, you can clearly see the reflection of the tree, and as the water calms down, the reflection will become clearer. And you can use that as a metaphor for when you're during your calm times of your life. And then, when you have turbulent times, and the waters become turbulent, like you've just seen and experienced, then the reflections and therefore your perception is a bit skewed, and it's harder for you to be able to recognise how the things are in actuality at that moment in time, because you have the veil of emotions and experiences covering and clouding your perception at that moment in time. Right, so this shows the importance of mindfulness and being able to use mindfulness as a tool to find moments of peace and allow your true selves to be able to come through and emerge even during times of turbulence and bad periods. Right, and then you've got mindful awareness and letting go. The reflections on the water show us the beauty of letting go of control. The water moves and changes freely, and so should we. We should observe the way the reflections shift and dissolve, like we were earlier on. And as we do that, that can remind us of the importance of being able to be adaptable and releasing our rigid self-expectations. And we should learn to try and move and flow freely through life and go with the flow instead of fighting against the flow with our expectations that are rigid or our clouded perceptions when we go through turbulent and difficult times. You can see now that it's much more clear and that it's calmed down again. Yes, there's still always going to be a little bit of movement there because it's not a pool, it's a stream, it's flowing and it's moving constantly. But it's a calmer flow, it's a calmer stream, and you can see more clearly what's going on under reflection. Without it being all disturbed and more difficult. Right, it's very pretty below, and I think you've seen enough of the surface of the water and the flow by now. You can just look at that because it's pretty. And if you're wondering, by the way, how there is a break there in the water, there you'll see from the dog's reflection then that it is there. See? It is actually water there. But what happens is you've got a tree trunk that's being reflected right in front of us. Because of that tree trunk, there is an absence of light. And when you don't have light, then you can't see the surface. So it looks like you can see straight through, clear as a bell, to the bottom. As you can't see the surface because there's no light reflecting off the surface like there is either side of it. And it's the same when objects pass through the shadow or the reflection of the tree trunk. If a leaf went through there right now, it would appear on one side, disappear when it goes through the shadow, and reappear on the other side. It's a really cool effect. and I was watching it in action last week. And indeed, one of the long form videos on the channel actually shows that. Right, so just sit there for a few minutes now, just listen to the birds. There's the tree. See again. Perception.